Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With the latest WWE edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back after just a 24-hour reprieve to break down everything that happened in WWE over the last week, coming off a weekend that had both Saturday night's main event and Evolution. We have an absolute ton to discuss, and vintage Chris Vanini is back to discuss almost all of it. We will get to him momentarily. Off the top, I would be remiss if I did not remind you that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, vintage Chris Vanini, the Getting Over Wrestling podcast in totality. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating. On Apple, take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. And we did, despite giving you 6 episodes in a 6-day span, receive 1 new 5-star review. That came from J Human I UK. You've won me over. This came on Sunday. 5 stars. I had previously left a 3-star review that was intended to be constructive criticism, but in retrospect read pretty harsh. I'm here to say that while I don't know if my critique was taken to heart or if you've simply just won me over, I apologize for the teardown. I want to thank you guys for all the great content. I never miss an episode. Excellent work, gents. Your dedication to your listeners is unmatched in this space. So let me address this in a couple ways. First of all, I appreciate the 5-star review, and I do acknowledge you.
Acknowledge.
Big acknowledgement right there.
Acknowledge.
But we also have, 511, I believe it is right now, written reviews, and I don't necessarily remember what you exactly wrote. What I will say is we are all about constructive criticism. So if you want to give us some of that, there are ways you can reach us that are not the review section of Apple Podcasts, okay? If you have any constructive criticism for us, we are open to hearing it. You can hit us up on Twitter at GettingOvercast, hit us up on Blue Sky at GettingOver, or you can email me directly, gettingoverpod@gmail.com. If you have constructive criticism, suggestions for the show, things you'd like to see, if you want to write in with your questions and comments, you can hit us up on all of those social media channels and email, obviously, and we're happy to hear them. But when it comes to, Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. Help us out. When it comes to Spotify, hit the 5-star button and comment on the episodes if you want. We do read those and we try to work them into these episodes as well. But if it comes to criticism and you want us to improve and you actually care about us, then hit us up privately through one of those channels and we will take it to heart and do the best we possibly can. Look, we're deep into the history of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. What are we? I'm actually going to look live. This is the 766th episode of the show. So we definitely do things our way and have for quite some time, but we're always here to grow and improve. And if you think that there's a way we can do that, then certainly let us know. I mentioned where you can find us on social media. If you do follow us at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky, not only can you communicate with us directly, but you can get episode drops, find out when episodes get published, news, analysis, highlights, and all of that good stuff. You also get to vote in pre- and post-show polls around premium live events and pay-per-views, and that's what we did all weekend. It was poll after poll, and we discussed them all on the Instant Analysis podcast. On that note, let me remind you that there are 3 shows in the feed from the weekend that you should listen to if you have not already. The first, AEW All in Texas. The second, Saturday night's main event and NXT Great American Bash. And the third, Evolution. All of them instant analysis shows. We sincerely hope you listen to them, and we hope you have already. But if you haven't, you may want to hit pause, especially when it comes to that Evolution instant analysis, because we're going to be talking about that more momentarily. Now, look, we have an absolutely loaded show for you today, as we usually do, but especially coming out of premium live events, particularly one, the quality of WWE Evolution. We're going to kick off this show with a second look at Evolution. Vintage Chris Vanini joining for that breakdown. There is some WWE news. We'll hit the main event, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then Silver King is scheduled to come back with you on Wednesday for a special birthday edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. We're trying to solidify a guest for that show if that guest does not join us. And we've had some issues with that recently. Very strange because every other time we've teased a guest in the past, they've come through and we've delivered the interview. But we're supposed to have a special guest on a special show for you Wednesday. If not, then we'll be back Thursday talking NXT and AEW. So just keep your eyes peeled to both of our social media channels for more information on that. Also, by the way, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast. Full-length audio episodes, full-length video interviews, all on YouTube at Getting Overcast. And yeah, that's about it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the WWE Evolution second look. And I can finally welcome back in vintage Chris Vanini for as long as we can have him before he needs to leave his home and take a flight. Where are you going, to Atlanta?
I am going to Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
For Mountain West Media Days this year. Yes, Las Vegas, the home of 2 straight WrestleManias.
Yes.
Unfortunately, good to be here. Sorry I wasn't on the Evolution show. I did listen to it. Appreciate everybody who reached out about one of our dogs who passed on Sunday. Really just busy week for both of us.
Yeah.
Round of applause for Silver King for doing all that recording and editing and everything long into the night. So it's been a lot, but good to be here. And thanks for holding the fort down by yourself.
No, I appreciate it. And, it was unfortunate not to have you, but circumstances are circumstances. And that's, you want to talk about, the most understanding circumstances, that's among them. I'll tell you, I am paying for this weekend, and I feel better today as we tape this show, but I am exhausted still. And my birthday's tomorrow. And it's like, I have plans to go out at night. I think it's an 8:15 reservation. Normally not a big deal. I like, going out late. I'm not completely washed yet. But I'm kind of questioning that decision now. I haven't slept in 3 days. And, look, we got a lot of show to cover, so we don't need to sit on me complaining, but it was a week. And look, as much fun, let me put it this way. As much fun for many people as this weekend was, and it was great, okay? Saturday night's main event, a disappointment, not a surprise, but All In, Texas, Great American Bash, and Evolution were great shows no matter what your preference, okay? I never want this weekend to happen again, okay? It's one thing to do it for WrestleMania, where we plan for it, we know what we're getting into, and really it's just one company, so you don't have shows running against each other concurrently. I know what WWE is doing. I don't like it. There's a whole conversation to be had there, but I am freaking exhausted. And is that just me kind of whining and complaining because we have work to do and everyone else just gets to sit and watch? Sure. But I imagine even the people sitting and watching at home, they'd prefer not to have multiple events going on simultaneously.
Yes, it's too much at the same time. Like, WrestleMania weekend is fine, SummerSlam weekend is fine, but it's not good for anybody. You said this on all the shows, but like, it just hurts NXT to put
really
NXT up against AEW anytime you can.
Yeah,
like those guys deserve a bigger spotlight.
That NXT show, did you? I assume you didn't see it because you were busy, right?
I did not watch it.
So that NXT show, first of all, it was a great show. It was I don't know why I was going to call it terrible, but an extremely weak card coming in. They still delivered a fantastic show. And if that was able to exist on its own, people would be talking about it this week. Instead, no one's talking about it at all. Now, Evolution was incredible and All In was great. So, there's reasons why. But because it was head-to-head, fewer people watched NXT than they would have. And I would guess they just said, all right, I missed that one. I'm not going to go back and watch it,
Yeah. And one other thing on Evolution, again, this was not the fault of WWE or anything, but separately, something I hadn't considered within Peacock, Evolution went up against the Love Island finale.
It did. Yeah.
Which is also on Peacock, which I watched late Sunday. Late Sunday I watched it. And then I watched Evolution after that. So like, people talked about the Beyonce concert and various things going on in Atlanta. That was one I hadn't even thought about till the very end, but that's a gigantic show that is on Peacock. I'm curious if there was a crossover or if it took away, but that's another one.
We didn't even mention that it was MLB All-Star Weekend in Atlanta as well, the whole weekend. Now, I don't think there was an event head-to-head with Evolution, to be fair, but still, if there are people in town or locals who are spending money to go to things, they're probably less likely to go see WWE if they also like baseball and they can buy tickets to the All-Star Game or the Home Run Derby or whatever the case might be. So It was just a real bunch of convolution with this getting booked. That said, Evolution did over 8,000 fans, and I believe that's not counting combo tickets. It's possible they had 10,000 there, all things considered. I don't know that to be the fact. It sold well. It did not sell as well as the initial Evolution, though. For that one, if memory serves, they papered tickets a little bit. And again, I just want to reiterate, with all that competition going on and it being the third event of the weekend, WWE didn't put it in position to fail. They did not set it up to fail, as people will say. But they also didn't really put it in position to succeed as much as it possibly could have. Despite that, Chris, we're going to get into the second look for me, first look for you, where you're going to kind of share some of your thoughts on Evolution. Off the top, I'm just going to say it was the WWE PLE of the year, and I think it's going to be in contender for PLE pay-per-view of the year in the 2025 Getting Over Awards, a.k.a.
the meaties. And I think I would agree. Like, everything on it was solid to fantastic. It was longer than a 4-match card.
Yeah.
Like, everything on there was what we want from these non-Big Four WWE pay-per-views. So it was terrific.
Yeah, and look, the matches were great. The crowd was great. What helped Evolution stand out from other recent WWE PLEs, it was not just the fact that there was a 7-match card. I know you're being a little sarcastic before, but instead of 5 usually, unless it's a Royal Rumble. But the lack of advertising being shoved in our faces, right? Like, yeah, Matt was covered in ads and Maybelline was front and center, and they had some other, ad breaks on Peacock, but it did not feel like I was getting beat over the head with ads and sponsorships and everything. And look, WWE is going to make its money, especially these days under TKO, but it was refreshing to kind of feel like you were watching a PLE from 2 years ago, but with a great 7-match card. So there were a couple matches that were a little too short for my taste. Nothing that insulting. Those hosting segments were fine. They were relatively unnecessary. And it was just a longer, fuller show that I felt valued our time. And we cannot say that about most WWE PLEs these days. It was also just fun from start to finish. The vibes were immaculate in there, and you could feel that emanating through the screen at you.
Crowd in Atlanta was fantastic, as you said on the ultimate or the instant analysis. And I think, just like you said, like, sometimes we go into these shows and we know who's going to win every match, or we're kind of just like bracing ourselves for certain things. And it felt like this card had a lot more like questions of up in the air of like, I actually don't know who's going to win most of these matches. And I think that kind of lets you relax a bit and just see what happens.
Well, to that point,
and that's how it played out.
Yeah, to that point, what happened on the show was not predictable. There were a couple matches that were predictable, but a couple others definitely not. And even if you got finishes that you expected, meaning the person won who you predicted, the way in which it happened may have been a surprise. So
yeah,
let's go match by match here. We already did the entire instant analysis. It was an hour-long show. Silver King rocked it individually. So I'm going to keep my comments brief, going to let Chris share his thoughts, but we'll go match by match real quick, get out of this. And then, of course, we have plenty of shows still left for you. Let's start, because of what happened in the main event, with Jade Cargill and Naomi, no holds barred. I was at 3.5 stars B. Didn't change my thought here. Thought it was one of the best matches of Jade's entire career, especially as a singles performer, Chris.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about like the spots were good, but the transitions between them were not, but still a really solid effort. I hated the camera angle on the Avalanche Jaded through the table, like the zoomed in close up. So you're like with her going through the table. Like, WWE always does these shots where they take away the context of how impressive a move is when they shoot somebody from below who jumps off the top rope, whatever. Just put me on the hard cam or across from the ring so I can see the whole thing happen. Because in the moment I couldn't quite tell what was going on, and then that's what happened. Great spot though. Good sell by Naomi and everything, but good stuff overall.
I almost always want the farther camera shot. I almost never want up close, especially when it's a high risk move. I want to be able to see it and how cool it is, like I'm in the crowd experiencing it. And WWE far too often zooms in. I totally agree. Jacob Nelson at Jacob_J_Nelson wrote him. He said, when you mentioned Bianca Belair not getting too involved as the special guest referee and the fact that she covered up her waist the last 2 times she was on TV, I did not mention that, but I guess you are. Versus showing her abs. I didn't notice that. It made me wonder if she might be expecting. I'm sure I'm dead wrong, but the thought came to mind. I don't know if that's the case. it would explain a lot because she just had a hand injury. And I mean, I know hand injuries can last. It's intricate. There's a lot of tiny bones in the hand. I get it. But it's been like, what, 4 full months since, well, let me count, April to May, June, 3 full months since WrestleMania. And they brought her back in that weird moment in Knoxville to get a pop, and then she disappeared again. And then they brought her back to special guest referee this match, but they didn't do anything in the match to create a storyline with Naomi, which now makes sense, or Jade Cargill. I mean, I'm not saying that Jacob's right, but for speculation's sake, it's possible.
It's an interesting theory. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Obviously we're not speculating. We don't want to speculate, but
well, this would be a positive thing to speculate about. I think.
Yeah. Like for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have been surprised for a while that she's not back with a hand injury, even just wearing a club or something.
Right.
I don't know. So, I don't know.
Yeah, she could be involved in storylines and stuff and just have the club on her hand, but she just hasn't been there at all, which is pretty interesting. Women's World Championship, Io Sky defending against Rhea Ripley in the main event. 5 stars, A+, sticking that grade. Simply phenomenal. Even better on second watch. Not advancing my grade, but really you're picking nits if you want an extra plus on the end there. I realized I shouted out Rhea for selling her ass off. Io sold her ass off too. She bumped like Ripley was compacting her body into a little cube. Rhea bumped like she was getting shot. Beyond the incredible swerve and the surprise finish, it came to me that with Liv Morgan out, Raw was badly in need of a main event level heel. Now they got one. I'd love to know whether this was always the plan, because I was of the assumption that we were going to get Io and Liv at SummerSlam. Naomi now has the second longest gap between world title wins in WWE history, the longest of the modern era. This is for a woman. I'm sorry, just to clarify. And that is immensely impressive that she was able to win in 2025, and she's not only over as a heel, which is difficult, but probably doing the best character work of her entire career and probably wrestling better than she has in her entire career.
This was a 5-star match. This may be one of the greatest women's matches of all time. And it's because of that I actually didn't like the cash in.
Yeah, I understand that.
Because I was like, this is too good to end it like that. And normally, if you have interference and stuff at the end of the match, I don't mind. I know sometimes it knocks a grade down for you in a general match grade. But for me, because it completely changed the finish and it impacted literally who won the match, a new person, and I was like, I feel like that it's a great moment and maybe an all-time moment.
It is.
But I feel like that keeps it from being greatest women's match ever.
Agreed.
Conversation for me, which is too bad because Naomi deserves that for sure. And it was a great moment and I like what she's doing. But Rhea and Io were in such an unbelievable zone that I was like, no, I don't want this to happen now. You guys you're so close to taking this.
You almost wish the match wasn't as great as it was. That way the cash in could come and you'd say, okay, well, we'll still get the Io and Rhea, 5-star plus classic, greatest match ever. But Chris, they're both still young. I mean, was Rhea 28 years old? We're going to get the match again. You know what I mean?
No, I know. But
you're right. The vibe, the vibes in the arena, the way it was being wrestled, the false finish coming out of over the moonsault, then the Spanish fly, which is not a move you see Rhea Ripley do. And you're like, oh my God, there's going to be 5 to 10 more minutes of this match. This might be forget gender. This might be an all-time freaking match. And then you get the cash in, which is crazy and exciting and a total swerve and great in its own right, but it came at the expense of not getting those 5 to 10 extra minutes.
Roman Brock at WrestleMania 31 it was good. It was really good, but it wasn't one where you really remember the match. You remember the finish.
Yeah, totally.
This is the one I'm going to remember the match. Yeah. And the finish was good, but I'm going to remember the match more than the finish. And I love the referee gets knocked out, and instead of it leading to chicanery, it just allowed them to go out and fight outside the ring for a while, which like classic WWE main event
Yeah.
type of thing, like from the Attitude Era or whatever. Even some of it now, you got that with at WrestleMania this year, but like you don't see that very often. Where like the women go out of the ring and do a full on like legit male style brawling in the crowd and all that stuff. It just hit every note. And then the cash, and I was like, oh no, we're gonna get this. So anyway, congrats to Naomi. It does continue the story that Rhea can't beat Io, but I'm trying to think like, did Io pin Rhea at Mania?
She pinned
I
Bianca,
don't remember.
I think, at Mania.
So like, we're not exactly getting Io keeps beating Rhea either, which I'd rather have.
Yeah, there was like a DQ more recently. There's been a DQ, and then Bianca interfered, which led to the title change initially. So it's all been excused. I mean, look, Rhea's getting protected. I mean, that's their goal. But
I know, and
but
that's what
back
I
in
don't like.
NXT, and I think it was Mae Young Classic. I'm forgetting specifically. Io beat her clean. I mean, straight up. So yes, it's not like Io's here dominating Rhea, and that's actually disappointing because there's a great story to tell about someone legitimately having your number, not because they're a heel and they cheat and all this stuff, but because they are better than you for an extended period of time, and you just can't beat them, and then ultimately you do or you never do. This is what I was saying on the instant analysis. It's okay to be the most dominant woman of your era, or maybe in WWE history if you're Rhea Ripley, and just never beat Io. And she's the one person that you couldn't get because that keeps Io strong. Io said, hey, I've lost titles and, Rhea's more dominant than me, but she never beat me. And it's an interesting way to keep two people strong if you can do that.
And not only does it keep Io strong, but it gives Rhea something to attain.
Right.
Like it gives her something to reach for and go to. I think they're kind of doing the same thing with Seth and Roman. I don't know if Roman has beaten Seth one-on-one. Like they had the Royal Rumble DQ stuff. So anyway,
Brock hasn't. They were doing that with Brock Lesnar. Seth Rollins is 2-0, I think, against Brock, if memory serves.
So yeah, like I feel like just on they have the story. They hit you over the head with it. The Rhea hasn't beaten Io. I just wish we had more on the main roster of Io beating Rhea.
Me too.
So it's so Io can kind of really get more of that bump.
I want Io beating everyone on the main roster. So I completely agree. I will say one more thing. I was positive when they went in the crowd and they got to the road cases that Io was taking a riptide off of the road case. And that was going to be like, okay, she just took a major move. She's going to lose, but it's excused. I was positive. So the fact that she not only didn't do that, didn't take that move, but got the offense in that spot, because there was a table set up right there on purpose for them to take the bump. So she got the offense, and then they came into the ring, and she still didn't lose the match. I was over the moon salt about that. So I loved the booking. I love the way Io is being respected, because I guarantee you, prior regime, even if this match happened, if the show happened, Ripley's winning, probably in dominant fashion. And you know what? Naomi's probably not even in the company. So the way things change, right? In just a couple of years. Let's talk Intercontinental Championship. Becky Lynch, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria. I was at 4.5 stars. Fantastic match, bell to bell. Second longest on the card. It really could have reached that top tier level with another 5+ minutes. It's unfortunate that it didn't get it. I thought the finish was fantastic. There was probably not more they could have done to get out of it the way they wanted to get out of it. But again, if they wanted like a more substantial, definitive winner, if they put a little more time, it could have been an A+ match.
Yeah, really good. Love the build up to it. Love the pre-match stuff, and they delivered just the way you expected. I think that's kind of the whole thing.
WWE Women's Championship, Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus, 3.75 stars, B+. It really was a B match that I'm giving extra credit for Trish working the way she did in 2025. I thought it was a missed opportunity for a post-match passing of the torch or mutual acknowledgement. I just think it would have been far more meaningful that way. Someone pointed out on the instant analysis, I did a bunch of booking the damn territory with Trish Stratus winning the title and then what would happen going forward. They pointed out, well, Jade Cargill is set to be the contender for her at SummerSlam, so Tiffany couldn't have gotten a rematch. It's a great point. You could have literally had Trish Stratus win this match, win the title, lose to Jade Cargill, so you're protecting and keeping open the Tiffany Jade match, and then you have Tiffany trying to get her lick back over Trish in just a regular singles match, and then Tiffy wins that match, so she gets her win back. Trish goes off, does a 3-match series. Look, it's just different booking, but there was a legitimate case for Trish to come out of this with the championship. That's all I'm saying.
2 things. One, the moonsault kind of landed on Trish's face.
Yeah.
And credit to the referee who immediately got in there with a check on Trish before the 3 count. Just like terrific refereeing there. I don't remember which one it was, but I just noted that. That was a great job of that. And 2, I have a theory now because Trish has been working as good as she's ever worked, like currently. And I think part of that is because the collection of women's wrestlers is better than it's ever been. And so Trish and some others can now do things that they and nobody around them could really do 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's not like, oh, Trish couldn't wrestle back then. It's like good wrestling wasn't even totally like possible back then. And now she has people who can do stuff for her, who can do stuff to her. And it just kind of opens up stuff. Like the women, like men's and women's wrestlers physically are just better than they've ever been. But especially on the women's side, I've wondered if like that kind of just opens up the possibility to do things that people like physically could have always done, but there was never a setting in which they could actually do it. And now there is when you're working with Becky, when you're working with Tiffy and these kinds of things. And yeah, I'd love Trish to keep this going because it's great.
I mean, that's absolutely true. Don't forget, her best matches were against Mickie James, who was the best other wrestler that they really had for her to go against. So now, yes, the competition is better and it makes her look better as well. But she's still keeping up with all of it at 49 years old. She's able to go with them. Now, okay, the matches aren't that long, but it's still ridiculously impressive. What she's able to do in the ring on a regular basis when she returns without being full-time. So she's taking months off, 6, 9 months, and sure, she's training and doing yoga and her Stratisfaction workout, whatever she does. But she's coming back and like, there's no ring rust. She hasn't missed a step. It's just incredibly impressive. And that's why, look, I'm not in favor of older wrestlers winning titles, usually, especially part-timers. But on the women's side, the only person you could do that with is Trish Stratus. And for me, I know they're kind of doing something with John Cena right now where he has the title. It's making a retirement run. If she wants to retire next year and like go out and do a 4-month program, I would give her a championship, especially the way she's going right now. No question about it. Let's move to the women's tag team championships. Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez against the Kabuki Warriors, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and Sol Ruca and Zarya. I went 4 stars A- for this match. This accomplished so much. Rodriguez looked like an absolute monster. She'd needed that ever since she debuted on the main roster. In storyline, we saw her accepting Perez while also watching as Flair and Bliss finally came together as more than frenemies. Zaruka got to stand out as the future of the division. Like I said on the instant analysis, the Kabuki Warriors were the only team that they were great in the match. They did fine. But there was nothing really coming out of it for them, and we saw that on Raw. It seems like they're going to get, I don't want to say split up, but not used as a team going forward, and that's positive because they don't need to be. They need to wrestle as singles on the Raw roster right now. So really solid match, no change in the grade. And Chris, what were your thoughts?
Really good stuff. 2 things. One, to your point about Raquel, there was that comment from Kevin Nash about her needing to work bigger, and she responded to that. And I thought she did that in this match. Like she worked bigger, and it works. Like that was it was cool to see kind of like someone respond to an older person's criticism. Like, yeah, let's take it. Like everybody's better for it.
Yeah, like that's you're right. I will be better. You know more than me. I mean, he just does.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then the other one, Sol Ruca, future star, looks like a future star who just hasn't found the right gimmick yet. And that is like, I think her outfit's kind of weird. I think this tag team pairing is kind of weird. I know it works on NXT and stuff like that, but like you can see everything there and you know they're just waiting to kind of find what's the like star gimmick, the aura giving gimmick that they can give Sol Ruca, and then off and running. So that'll be cool, but she's great.
Yeah, you're not a big NXT watcher, but I think she'll keep her gimmick. It's, it's like surfer girl type of deal. It's her name. I mean, they picked a name that fits that gimmick. So I don't know that that's going to change. I mean, it'll certainly evolve and grow as she gets older. She'll probably grow out of it. But initially, it's different.
Why is she with this person who looks like, a evil goth character?
Because they're like an odd couple friendship pairing backstage. That's
Yeah.
pretty much
so
it.
like I think
That happens
you know,
sometimes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, but I think like she will get away from that when it becomes time for. And I think it's mostly.
Oh,
the outfit. I
they're
think
going to
the
split. Yeah,
top-
they're telling a story of their split sooner than later.
I think
Zari's going to turn heel. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the look, her top was just a little like the racing checkered flag stuff. It was a lot kind of going on.
I
think
agree
you just
with
gotta
that.
find
She
that.
usually has a better overall like aesthetic than she's showed here for sure. NXT Women's Championship, JC Jane against Jordan Grace. I went 4 stars, A-. Apparently not our listeners, but other people who give match grades and, cage match and all that. Apparently they disagree. I think this is the most underrated match on the entire card. JC and Jordan worked incredibly well together. The heel turn with Blake Monroe was extremely well done, and NXT was represented well too. I'm actually surprised that it's not getting more attention. And I saw people saying, well, Blake just hit her in the butt with the title. How does that do anything? Well, she just hit her with the title. That doesn't really matter. She took a finisher from the champion immediately after that and then lost the match. It's exactly the same or extremely similar to the way JC beat Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie Vaquer got kicked in the corner by Fallon Henley, which is equivalent of like a title shot to the lower back. And then JC hit her finisher and got the 1-2-3. So I don't understand why you had a problem with this, but you didn't have a problem with that. Like I said, this is being underrated. 4 stars, A-. I love this.
Good on JC Jane for a defense. Like, I know people wonder if it's going to be a short reign and stuff like that. Jordan Grace looks like a future star, as we know. And you and everybody in NXT kind of says this too. The pronunciation, Blake Monroe.
Monroe.
I'm sorry, you say Monroe. Everybody says Blake Monroe. And that's not how I say it. To me, it's Monroe. It's the emphasis on the row. But everybody is saying it Blake Monroe. And that just sounds
well,
weird.
Is it Marilyn Monroe or Marilyn Monroe?
It's Marilyn Monroe with the emphasis on the
It's
row.
not Marilyn Monroe?
Not to me and not to anyone I've ever heard.
Oh,
But I don't know. Like they're saying it on NXT too, so maybe that's it, or maybe
it's just where we are in the nation and where we the way we pronunciate names. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I was like,
I kind of want to do one of those like Google searches while we're talking here. Hold on, how to pronounce Marilyn Monroe. I'm going to play it right now.
Marilyn Monroe.
Monroe.
Yeah,
to your point.
But you're not the only one doing it. Like it's just,
and it's MUHN, like in terms of the pronunciation guide, like Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. Okay, so I'll start saying Blake Monroe. Okay,
well, fine. Not if they keep saying that on NXT. That's why it was weird.
Well, I suppose, but like it's definitely the Blake is for her niece, and then Monroe is for Marilyn Monroe. So like I just did it again, Marilyn Monroe. So yeah, okay. That's what it is. All right, then let's move on. We got a lot more to talk about. Battle Royal for Clash in Paris #1 contendership. Stephanie Vaquer won, 3.25 stars B. I thought it was the weakest match on the card pretty easily, but obviously Stephanie was the right winner. I thought the finish was pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Fun. Cool to see Lash Legend go that far.
Justin Hubbard at JHub93 wrote in. He said not only was it an A+ show, that was his opinion, it was perhaps the front runner for PLE of the year. Atlanta was hot for Bad Blood, Saturday Night's Main Event, and Evolution. And both ATL and Savannah were great for Raw and SmackDown in recent years. That's true. WWE bring WrestleMania back to Atlanta. So look, I would love for WrestleMania to be in Atlanta because I would love to go to WrestleMania. At the same time, I can't imagine what traffic would be in Atlanta. It's bad on a normal Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I can't imagine what it would be like if WrestleMania was over there.
Yeah, they did add a new hotel over there, so like some of it is a bit more walkable, but yeah, it's tough.
Chris, what was your final grade for Evolution?
I'm gonna give it an A. Like low A, I guess was 93, the lowest A. I think I'll put it there. Everything delivered. Crowd was great. Had impactful, really important things happen. Had one of the best women's matches of all time. Maybe I should be a little bit higher. And maybe just the whole.
You didn't watch it live. Yeah, you didn't watch it live.
Yeah, I didn't watch it live. I knew some of the results. But yeah, A show, 100%.
Yeah, I was at an A as well. I was at a 96. I think it was as good of a show that you could put on without being the upper echelon of premium live events and pay-per-views. There was basically no flaws in the program. And the way I felt coming out of that show with that match and the cash-in and the crowd and the way people were reacting to it, it was a special night on Sunday in Atlanta. No question about it. We have a ton of show left right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. And to save a bit of time and keep Vintage's energy, Silver King is going to go at this part alone because we have the main event and the good, the bad, and the ugly both coming up
But I'm afraid I've got some news.
And it seems clear that in order to fit as much content on SmackDown as WWE can these days, given they have a roster built for 3 hours, but now it's a 2-hour show, they've been doing a bunch of entrances during commercial breaks the last 2 weeks. It's not the end of the world in theory, but when you do it, and you do it for wrestlers who need exposure, it is kind of a significant issue. Best I could tell, there were 6 women who would have otherwise gotten entrances Friday night, and only one of them did. For the men, I'm pretty sure everyone got their entrance, or at least most of them. That's a crazy disparity when it was a go-home show for an all-women's premium live event. Now, I saw a lot of people out there calling Friday night one of the worst SmackDowns ever, one of the worst of the year. I mean, it may not have been amazing, but I didn't feel that way at all after the show. I mean, not even close. Apples to apples, it was way better than the taped show from July 4th week. And I don't necessarily know what people were thinking. Raw on Monday night was fantastic. And Birmingham, Alabama, for that show, completely delivered. And yeah, it was a far better episode than SmackDown was on Friday, but I just do not understand what people were talking about, that this was some terrible show where there was nothing redeemable from it. I mean, yeah, is there a lack of star power on SmackDown right now? Absolutely. But there's myriad reasons for that. And it seems like those are going to get rectified right here on this road to SummerSlam. One other item, Fred Durst showed up at SmackDown on Friday night. Sounds like a nothing burger in general. It's actually not. He had effectively been banned from WWE for nearly 12 years after flipping off the camera at the 2013 edition of SummerSlam, when WWE was firmly entrenched as a PG product. It was crazy to see him on screen all grizzled with white hair, but he's a huge wrestling fan, so I'm sure this mattered to him a great deal, and I was always a Limp Bizkit fan growing up as well. He also posted on social media suggesting there was more to come. And this seems to fall in line with what Metro Boomin and a third artist, I'm forgetting who it was, were saying on social media, that they were interested in making WWE entrance music. It sounds like they may be investing in some quality work here. Perhaps the Def Rebel deal is coming to an end. Perhaps they will remain with WWE, but be relegated to developmental and UFC. And then they can work with a group of actual artists who can elevate their notable stars. Either way, I'm happy for Durst to get back with WWE, even if it's him attending a show and nothing more. It just seems like a hugely positive development. And if WWE is able to make some inroads with like legitimate talent creating entrance music, well, everything's going to be better off for it from a product standpoint, because we have seen time and again, like the way people sing Randy Orton's entrance theme, the way Fatal Influence right now, and this is a Def Rebel theme, so credit to them, but when their music hits, and I know this is like a random reference, but when their music hits, you know it's them. It makes you feel a certain way, and then they deliver on that when they walk down to the ring. Io Sky's entrance theme is great. And then you compare those with like Bayley or Jordan Grace, Zelina Vega. You know, some of these other just ridiculously terrible, basic, almost AI created themes, and you feel a totally different way about some of those superstars. So hopefully this is all coming to fruition. Hopefully I'm not projecting on it, but that was the thought I had coming out of SmackDown on Friday. And yeah, look, there's some other WWE news out there in the ether, something with Logan Paul we'll talk about in a little bit. They signed a deal with Fanatics to be able to use WWE branding on like online casino games, whatever. It's a bunch of little things out there. Nothing else we need to spend too much time on here at the start of the show. We'll tackle it next week. Perhaps we'll tackle it in the future, or we just won't at all because it's really not that big news. And we try to hit the biggest news and biggest general topics here before we get into the meat of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Before we move on, I do need to remind you that here at Getting Over,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions from every major show, and exclusive news analysis post each week. Again, that is buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. We are a free show and an ad-free show. We would greatly appreciate your financial support to keep the lights on and keep this thing rolling. Bringing vintage Chris Vanini back in, it is time to break down everything that happened across the last week in the world of WWE, Raw and SmackDown, everything we did not already discuss on either the Saturday night's main event or Evolution Instant Analysis. And we're going to kick it off, as we always do, by sliding into the main event.
This is the main event.
Now, Paul Heyman backstage with the Money in the Bank briefcase and the heavies. He said it was too soon to address Seth Rollins' health, especially since he has until June to cash in Money in the Bank briefcase. Heyman instead focused on Braun Breaker dominating the gauntlet and beating Gunther to become the next World Heavyweight Champion. In content that neither aired in the United States nor got posted on social media, LA Knight told Rollins he was angry that Seth got hurt because he wanted to do the hurting himself, so he wished him a speedy recovery. That way he could hurt him as soon as possible. Gunther briefly confronted Penta backstage before hitting the ring and bragging about beating Goldberg. Fans loudly chanted, "You tapped out," still going back to the WrestleMania tap out. So Gunther stole Goldberg's line, asking, "Who's next?" He decided to watch from a suite as the gauntlet match transpired to determine his number one contender. Heyman and Breaker interrupted, but Gunther had no desire to listen to them. Breaker got in his way, with Heyman again proclaiming he would run through the gauntlet and beat him at SummerSlam. Heyman called Breaker the next big thing and the big dog, saying it's his yard. So Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, The Undertaker references. Heyman added that Breaker is not just a contender, he's a Steiner, and he's going to break through the glass ceiling in WWE before breaking his ass at SummerSlam. What glass ceiling exists for a star legacy talent exactly? What was he talking about? They have the opposite of a glass ceiling. Anyway, Breaker finally let Gunther go after that. Altogether, this was a near perfect build to the gauntlet match. He was the only heel. You want to build momentum and expectation that he's going to try to run through everyone, so you have one babyface after another go at him. The only miss was Heyman not referencing the fact that Breaker, beat Gunther already for the NXT Championship. Kind of important if you're going to go on a rant about this guy being able to beat him again. He's the only guy, I think, who has a positive win-loss record against the dude. The backstage stuff was whatever, but Gunther and Heyman successfully cut great promos right ahead of the match. Definitely added necessary hype as a viewer going into the main event of Raw.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, kind of like the Io Rhea thing, like how much NXT history is canon and how much isn't. And if it's not, well, like lean into Braun beat Gunther, he can do this.
Right.
Like that's a selling point that I'm sure a lot of, if not most WWE fans watching don't know. So like use that to build up Braun. The LA Knight stuff here, same with the injury that happened on Saturday. I love how he handled this because he's a face, but he's also like his own thing, like I didn't get to hurt you because you hurt your damn self. Like that's what LA Knight should be saying. And LA Knight, after the match on Saturday, should be upset that Seth got hurt. So he got the win, but he's still kind of mad about it and not just jumping into, I hope he's okay, come back, Seth, cheer, get the crowd to cheer, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like he's like still going to be kind of tweener and angry about it. So like, I liked how he handled that. I wish it was on television.
Mm-hmm. I still, even if it's not on TV, the fact that they don't air 10 seconds of it on TV and then post the entire thing on social media, I just don't understand. So let's move to the gauntlet. Breaker and Penta started, which began at 9:50 p.m. Eastern. Penta, obviously PM. Penta got dropped onto the steel steps, but came back later with a hanging backstabber off the ropes. Breaker countered out of Penta Driver, then caught him springing into the middle of the ring with a spear for the first fall. Knight was next, dominating early until he took a back bump after getting tripped on the ropes. Then he went on a huge run that got the crowd hot, hitting the jump-up elbow drop. Braun avoided BFT before Knight countered a Breakensteiner attempt into a powerbomb for a stack false finish. Breaker then raked his eyes to avoid another BFT, hitting a lung blower and a spear for another fall. Breaker worked as Knight sold the midsection all match, just made perfect sense doing that. Jay was next, getting a hot tag-like run, the tope suicida knocking Breaker out. Then he went into the center of the ring in the middle of a gauntlet match where his opponent, who had already wrestled 2 matches, was down hurt outside. A number 1 contendership for a World Heavyweight Championship match at SummerSlam. And he called for an encore of his theme into the commercial break and just started dancing right in the middle of the ring.
Are you fucking kidding me?
All-time dumb shit right here. I could not believe what I was seeing. Shout out to Corey Graves saying, I don't like that at all, going into the break. I know he was speaking in kayfabe about Jay like affecting his chances to win the match, as opposed to like, the idiocy of if this happening in like a reality setting, like Breaker, as soon as we came back from the commercial break, he was back on offense. Did this bother you, Chris, as much as it bothered me?
It did. But like that is usually the place where WWE will go to commercial, like someone goes out of the ring and then they go to commercial break. And this
but the guy, the competitor in the match doesn't go do a dance routine in the middle of the ring.
I know that, and you tweeted it was all-time dumb move. I don't think it was even the dumbest crowd hype moment of the weekend, because we had Edge coming to save Christian from a concerto at All In. He runs to the side to hype up the crowd, then stops to do his pyro, all while Christian's still laying in the ring. So I think that one was dumber. It's up there with Jeff Hardy kind of as well, but it's what pro wrestling does sometimes, and it's when it kind of takes that realism out of it. I thought this was really goofy.
I thought they were equally dumb. Let me put it that way. When I say all time, I don't mean the worst all time. I just mean one of the worst all time. And I put Jeff Hardy there, and I put Adam Copeland.
The Edge one is going to stick with me forever, because it's like it's a save. Like time is of the essence.
Right.
He stopped twice.
Right. Like at least Jay, you can say, well, you can make the argument that the eating and stuff, he's not that serious, and that's why he's not still champion, because he's not. You can kind of come up with it, but for Copeland to do that, it was weird. But again, both of them equally dumb for me. Anyway, back to the match. He caught Jay, Braun did, with Brakensteiner, but he countered a spear attempt with 2 super kicks and even his own spear for a perfect 2.9 false finish. This was actually one of Jay's best spears ever, by the way. Bronson Reed pulled Jay off the top rope as he went for Uso splash, allowing Breaker to spear Jay for another fall. Commentary was right that there's no DQ in a gauntlet technically, but this was frustrating as hell in a total different way. CM Punk was...
First off, why is there no DQ in a gauntlet match? It's one-on-one.
Yeah, there probably should be.
Like, it's not even triple threat rule. Like, anytime you do this, especially with heels, you open up the case of, well, why don't the heels just interfere all the time then?
Like in a triple threat, if you're a faction member in a triple threat, why is your whole team not out there just murdering the other two guys?
I'm glad commentary said it, because we needed to hear it. I just don't like that rule, if that's the kayfabe rule.
I completely agree with you. You're totally right. I also think in a triple threat, if someone does something individually to blatant DQ themselves, then they get DQ'd from the match and it continues with the other two people.
Yeah, I've always felt that.
I've always thought that way. Anyway, CM Punk was out last. He went on a really hot run right away, only for Breaker to begin dominating him like he did everyone else. It was to the point that he was able to taunt extensively multiple times. Why Breaker, who had already been wrestling for 35 minutes, was that dominant over Punk, I don't necessarily understand, but okay, I digress from that. He landed another Brakensteiner, but Punk actually rolled through for a sunset flip falls finish. He tried to pour it on from there, kicking Reed off the apron, landing a huge flying elbow drop for another false finish. Punk immediately moved into Anaconda Vice, but Reed broke it with a standing elbow drop. He called for Tsunami, so Jay ran out to save with another entrance. So that was even less reason to do the encore earlier. He got 3 entrances for this match. Punk countered the spear with a kick and hit GTS with a leaping cover to win the gauntlet and advance to face Gunther at SummerSlam as expected. The crowd was crazy, crazy hot for the finish of this match. For me, big time peaks and valleys. Overall, it was one of the better gauntlets WWE's run, just from the standpoint of there not being any cheap sequences. There were no 3-minute matches in here, but there was something about it that just left me disappointed and wanting more. I can't exactly put my finger on it. Maybe it was Heyman laying out the entire match before it started, saying Breaker would run through everyone, and then him just going ahead and doing that. I know he was the only heel involved. I was excited, hoping that we'd get a variety of different matchups. LA Knight against Jey Uso, Penta against CM Punk, whatever the case might be. Instead, it was just Breaker against the main event and upper mid-card baby faces all the way down through the match. I guess that's my issue, the lack of variety. I found it a bit boring, coupled with Jay's dumb encore and all of Reed's interference. I wanted to see a more complicated match with the number one contendership getting earned in a more decisive fashion, given it is Gunther and it is SummerSlam. But Breaker deserves a lot of credit. He went 41 minutes plus. His individual booking here was exceptional. The crowd loved it, and that is what matters most overall.
Yeah, the purpose of this was not to get CM Punk to SummerSlam, because that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. The purpose was, all right, Braun Breaker's the guy you got to take seriously because Seth Rollins is gone. And that's how we're going to do that. We're just going to have Braun kind of take over and take charge of this. And that is the way to do it, by putting him through most of the baby faces on Raw. So in that context, I get it. But yes, I agree. The match didn't feel as fresh. I also don't love like when the last person is a babyface and he wins it. It's
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I feel like Braun deserved to win it based on all the work he did. But it accomplished what it had to under obviously less than ideal circumstances.
No question. So that was the match, and Raw could have ended right there, but it did not. Punk celebrated after the bell, so Reed comes back in the ring, squashes him in the corner. Breaker speared Jay as he attempted to save, and then Reed stacked them one atop another as fans chanted OTC. And as soon as I saw their bodies literally stacked as opposed to next to each other, I knew there was no way that Reed was doing the tsunami, because that's unnecessarily dangerous. Roman Reigns did indeed return. The crowd went ballistic. Superman punch to Reed, turned Breaker inside out, lifted Reed like he was absolutely nothing for a Samoan drop. Superman punch on Breaker, massive spear on Reed to end the battle. He gave Jay a hand up, they dapped, then Punk got to his feet on his own, and Reigns got screaming loud soccer style chants, Roman Reigns, that whole deal. They said words to one another, but they didn't shake hands or anything, and Raw went off the air. The pop for Reigns was straight up redonkulous. Birmingham was a great crowd Monday night, and they were hotter earlier and cooled down later in the show, which is understandable. It's a long program, but they hit their peak as soon as Reigns came out. The return was the third to last Raw here before SummerSlam. That makes perfect sense to build to a match where he can get revenge for the WrestleMania turn and the night after WrestleMania attack. What's going to be necessary next week is an explanation about why he's been gone so long, because frankly, Punk was attacked the same way Reigns was, and he's been on TV weekly wrestling in matches. But there's no doubting the Reigns return was fire. The timing was great at the end, and the cherry on top was Roman saving Jay, which was not lost on me at all, Chris.
Yes, that was important. We weren't sure if Roman was going to have a match at SummerSlam or not, because he's going to film a movie right afterward, and you wonder, well, you really don't want him getting hurt for that. So I'm curious if this was always the plan or if it was an audible because of Seth. Either way, it makes a lot of sense in the story. So that is good to see. Good to see him back for however long that is. The shirt he was wearing,
I was going to bring that up. Please go ahead. Yeah.
says TC1, which I'm going to presume means Tribal Chief 1, the same way we say QB1 or wide receiver 1 for who your starter is. Stop it. Stop this stuff. We are not going. What was the other TC they tried to call him?
YTC, your tribal
They
chief.
tried YTC while keeping OT. We already did OTC. People chant OTC. It's set. He's OTC. We're not calling him TC1. There's like 3 different things you have to explain for TC1 to even make any sense.
I just want to clarify.
It might be OTC.
It is OTC. It's poorly designed.
His logo was in the O, but all you could see was TC1, and like OTC1, that implies there's an OTC2. Does that make it Solo Sikoa now? Like, what are we doing?
So
just stick with the OTC.
This is what I'm going to say. So it is eons better than the YTC shirt, first of all.
Yes.
Okay. So that is the worst Roman Reigns shirt recently, at least. Okay. I'm sure there's been big dog shirts and other crap that I've hated in the past, but the design of this was almost perfect. Okay. You have the TC stylized with the Samoan tattoos and the flowers in the back. Like that part of it is fantastic. Then instead of an O, it's literally a square that's smaller with his logo in it. And then a number 1 at the end, which you have a problem with. I don't have a problem with OTC1 because they aren't going with only Tribal Chief. They're going with original Tribal Chief. I remain steadfast. It should have been only, but okay. Original Tribal Chief. It's repetitive. It's redundant, basically, to kind of do it that way. But the biggest problem on the shirt is you can't see the O, to your point. It is actually a nice looking shirt other than that, but I don't disagree with like your take. And I can confirm, because I'm on the website right now, it is OTC1. It is not meant to be TC1. I'll also point out, if you're interested in purchasing any WWE merchandise from WWE Shop, we have a link in our profile on Twitter and Blue Sky, at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. It takes you directly to Fanatics. The prices are exactly the same, except we get 10% of that sale price coming back to Silver King and Vintage. So we get some drinks, and we'd appreciate if you use our links. That was not planned, but I just wanted to mention that. Go ahead. Yeah.
I did see at All In an El Grande Americano is numero uno shirt, and I really liked it, except on the back, there's a pretty big WWE logo above near the collar. Like,
Mhm.
normally that's fine. It's just an abnormally large W, but I had actually not seen that shirt in person, and it was cool. So if you buy that,
Nice.
do throw a link.
There are some nice shirts recently that they've come out with for different superstars, but okay, we're way off topic here. The shirt, yes, it was very weird. Listen, clearly when it comes to SummerSlam, moving this forward, the match is going to be Reigns and Jay against Breakker and Reed. Now, I presume if Rollins had not gotten injured, that this would have been a 6-man with Knight joining the faces because Punk was always scheduled to fight Gunther. So WWE, they may just need to find something for Knight to do on the show. Plenty of matches needed, plenty of people with whom he can feud. Going with a tag match, it makes a ton of sense for Reigns, especially if it's accurate that he's going to be filming Street Fighter at the end of August. He can limit his involvement in the match, do his signatures, do the spear, get out of there unscathed with Jay doing most of the work, you know?
Agree. And LA Knight, they've set him up with some other people like in conversations, so you can find something for maybe it's like a solo thing or something. I don't know.
They can make it work. Now, we had our first conversation about Seth Rollins' injury on the Saturday night's main event instant analysis. So if you missed that, please make sure you go back and listen. In terms of like us moving it forward here on today's show, no further word has come down about it. It's kind of ironic. He went to see Dr. James Andrews, or at least his institute in Birmingham, Alabama. And that's where Raw emanated from Monday night. I mean, that has to be ironic at a minimum.
Also, by the way, Big E hurt his neck in Birmingham. He was there too.
Oh, that's
Weird
right.
how that
And he was able to just go. Yeah, you're right about that.
Wild.
It's so crazy. Now, there was varied reporting online, truly running the gamut from entirely a shoot to entirely a work. The in-between reporting is that Rollins has a real injury that's going to keep him out a brief amount of time. So they ran a fake injury that looks to be more extensive as a cover. That way his return can come sooner in a surprise fashion. That is certainly plausible. I think it's plausible. And it's exactly what we briefly discussed during Saturday's instant analysis. Rollins has stated time and again, his goal is to prevent Punk from becoming a world champion in WWE. In kayfabe, sacrificing a meaningless match against Knight to put himself in position to not only screw Punk, but steal a world title win from SummerSlam would be incredible booking and a heist of the century too. The problem is he didn't know Punk was going to be the number one contender for the match at the time he would have quote unquote faked the injury. So they would have to play it as if he really got injured. He just said it was worse than it actually was to create the element of surprise. But we've been talking about a Rollins cash-in at SummerSlam since the day he won the briefcase. So the only way to make that a surprise would be to make us think he's injured. So this may all just be wishful thinking, okay? It's quite possible he's as injured as it looked, and that's that. If so, you can save the cash-in for WrestleMania because he absolutely should be able to recover in 9 months unless he exploded his knee. If you do not mention him for 9 months and he returns with a cash-in simultaneously, it would be an absolutely insane moment at WrestleMania and a crazy one in WWE history. So if the injury is a work in one way or another, great. That means he's not hurt that bad. If it's a shoot, that absolutely sucks for Rollins because WWE was truly giving him the ball in 2025. But the silver lining is that it could result in an all-time moment at WrestleMania.
If they faked an injury on NBC on a 4-match card just to set that, I would have major problems with that, especially as a fan of LA Knight.
What if he's actually injured? But they faked a worse injury is what I'm saying.
I think that's the dumbest way to do it.
Okay.
Frankly, because you didn't even give LA Knight a win or something. Like that was the worst that would have been the worst possible way to do it. In terms of whatever happens afterward, I don't know if I love him cashing in at WrestleMania because he's already done that. You know, especially at the main event, like you're not going to top 31. I'd rather him not do it a second time. So I don't really know. But yes, obviously, whatever you do, make it a surprise. It's just hard for us to not be thinking of Seth because we're going to have Heyman and Braun and Bronson all the time. So I don't know.
The thing that bothered me the most that I saw circulating online coming out of this is people were saying, okay, if Rollins is hurt, what is WWE going to do with the Money in the Bank briefcase? They should take it off of him. And I was like, why? Like, what are you talking about? He has 11 months to cash in the briefcase. And even if in some way 11 months from now, he's like 90% cleared, let's just say, you could figure out a way for him to just, come down with the briefcase, hit someone over the head, use a weapon on them, and then cover them and get the 1, 2, 3. And then not have him, actually wrestle for 2 months until he's 100% recovered. It would have made zero sense, first of all, for this is what I saw people talking about. Just give Braun the briefcase. No, he didn't win it or earn it. And it's not transferable in that way, number one. Have him relinquish the briefcase. No, because he has 11 months left. He just won the frickin' thing. So I didn't understand at all where any of that was coming from. And Chris, even if he is out for, let's say, that entire period of time, I still wouldn't do anything with the briefcase. If he just becomes the first person to win the Money in the Bank and not be able to use it because it expires, okay, that's what happened.
Yeah, you got to let that happen.
Yeah, that's what I would say. So if we take this injury for face value, okay, a conversation also needs to be had about Breakker and Reed and what's next for this group, which still does not have a name and now perhaps may not ever get one because there's only 2 of them. To me, the way you should book them going forward, coming out of, let's say, SummerSlam, is a no-brainer. The worst part of Raw right now is the men's tag team division. I would make Breakker and Reed a permanent team and have them run roughshod through the division. You have them dominate to such a degree that main event and upper mid-card faces have to team up, come together to try to take them down. That creates a bunch of huge matches. It raises the prestige of the titles, and it also allows other people on Raw to continue operating with the singles titles and not have this, large group of extra people not doing anything. While this is happening, you can add Austin Theory and or Carmelo Hayes or whoever you want to the fold and expand the group. Not that dissimilar from what happened with D-Generation X when Shawn Michaels got hurt and then Triple H kind of took over. You have Braun Breakker take over the lead role of the group and you add people underneath him. To me, it's an across-the-board win for all involved, despite a difficult situation. And with Paul Levesque leading creative and literally being the person who benefited when that happened with DX, I just think that's what they should do.
I agree. I love the idea of the tag team titles becoming the biggest, most sought after titles on Raw, especially with how poorly they've been booked. I wanted the 2 of them to do that even when Seth was around. The only other part of it is, depending on who the World Heavyweight Champion is, if it's still Gunther post SummerSlam, you're going to need faces involved in that too. And Gunther's previous title reign was hurt because he didn't have many top quality people he wrestled with. So I wouldn't want it to take away from the world title reign if Gunther is champ coming out of SummerSlam. But overall, I like that idea.
All right. Well, I'm glad you agree. Anything else that you want to talk about regarding Rollins' injury or his group or Roman Reigns, CM Punk, anything like that? Or should we just
I just really hope LA Knight does not get lost in the shuffle here because he is still red hot.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that the Seth thing happened the way it did, but I hope he should be saying, hey, I just beat Seth Rollins. I should be in the world title picture or in something else. I know it was an unfortunate situation, but not only do you try to use the Seth injury to Braun's advantage, use it to LA Knight's advantage. He got to win. So build off of that because this guy is red hot. And you got to have him on SummerSlam and something.
Yeah.
And just, you can do so many things with him. I hope he just doesn't kind of get lost.
He definitely needs to be in a SummerSlam match, and he's the perfect type of person to then pair with another wrestler, maybe even Jay, and you have them go after Braun Breakker and Bronson Reed on Raw in an extended storyline to win the tag team titles once they eventually take them. That's
call him Yeet and Yeah, something like that. Make that a tag team. I think that'd be super fun. You do the yeet, you do the yeah. It's right there. It's classic WWE booking.
Dude, not cool.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. That's totally fine. It could work. And yeet and yeah, you know what they would do, dude? They would sell a lot of merchandise. I guarantee you that. They would sell a shit ton of merchandise. All right, that takes us out of the main event. Of course, we're going to break down everything that happened across Raw and SmackDown next. And we still have vintage for a few minutes. So let's move into the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy.
Say hello to the back.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
Now, let me be clear in that the women absolutely deserve to open this segment, the two big moments from Raw on Monday night. But because we kind of teased the conversation that Vintage and I were going to have on the Saturday night's main event instant analysis, we do need to start here while we still have him with Jelly Roll. So he dapped up Randy Orton backstage in the cold open of SmackDown. He then performed in hour 2 of the show with Logan Paul interrupting, banging on the drums, forcing him to stop. Logan said the fans were there to see real WWE superstars, not music made for guys who have tattoos of their children but don't have custody of them. It's a great line. Too bad he stole it from a dude on Twitter who made an entire meme out of it a full week earlier. Logan said the ring is sacred. Shout out Gunther. Jelly doesn't belong in WWE, and influencers and celebrities don't belong in the industry. Paul then announced that his podcast has inked a long-term deal with WWE.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Real quick, the deal there is WWE is distributing it under Fanatics. So they're basically doing the ad sales. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. I don't think it's going to turn into a wrestling show. He has his own kind of gimmick going. But not a show I'm listening to. Orton stormed down, putting over Jelly as a huge name in the music industry, saying Paul is more of an outsider. Okay, I mean, Logan's really a wrestler. He called him an entitled, whiny little bitch. Fair enough. It doesn't need to be bleeped, but censors freaked out. The screen blacked out for a second. Audio got muted for 1 second separately. I have no idea what happened there. Orton said everyone backstage works their ass off to ensure Logan looks good when he gets in the ring. But as he turned around, Drew McIntyre cut him off with a Claymore. Logan went after Randy when Drew got pulled backstage. So Jelly eventually came to his aid. He threw Paul backwards by his hair. Fans loudly chanted Jelly, and Orton was seemingly impressed and surprised that he stepped up physically. Paul then wrecked a drum set using a guitar. Orton accepted Jelly, joining him ringside, as we saw happen Saturday. Obviously, the physicality there continued, with Jelly beating Logan and eating a Claymore from Drew. That was on Saturday night. Now, Chris, look, I wanted to hate this. I truly wanted to hate this with every fiber of my being as a professional wrestling fan. I did not completely hate this. I hate Logan. I strongly dislike Jelly Roll. I don't want Orton or McIntyre involved in this at all. And I still don't hate it. I'm not sure I can articulate exactly why. Perhaps it was the crowd energy. Perhaps it was Paul, frankly, cutting one of his 2 or 3 best promos in WWE despite the stolen line. I loved how he was insanely hyperbolic, turning everything the fans say and completely gaslighting us about celebrity involvement, acting as if he's a legitimate WWE superstar who's offended by this dude's presence. It was great heel work that way. Orton getting rage baited by him, that was insanely stupid. It was easily the worst part of the segment. But he was so passionate coming out that he sold it well. Still, it was ridiculous that he got triggered by Paul when he hasn't gotten as angry about shit that's actually been done to him directly. The biggest problem is that talent the caliber of Orton and McIntyre will be in a tag team match with these guys at SummerSlam. It would be easier to digest with different wrestlers. Orton is such a veteran, it's less of an issue with him, but McIntyre should be in a massively prominent role on this show. But look, Logan has wrestled Roman Reigns. Bad Bunny main evented Backlash against Damian Priest. If this is seen as raising McIntyre's profile to put him in a stronger position long-term, I guess I can see that logic. Triple H claims that Jelly has not only been regularly training at the WWE Performance Center, but he promised he would be dedicated to this. And I do believe there's a major difference these days when it comes to celebrities wrestling in WWE, given what's happened with Logan and Bunny. They aren't just training for 2 weeks and then getting in the ring. They're dedicating themselves to putting on good matches. So would I have ever booked this match for SummerSlam? Of course not. Never. But I didn't hate the segments we got on Friday or Saturday and on SmackDown for the purposes of this segment here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. To my utter shock, this was good.
So, like, in a vacuum, the segment was good. Like, it worked and made sense.
Right,
Jelly Roll,
in a vacuum.
Jelly Roll, like, not looking like it doesn't know what he's doing out there, which is good. And to your point, the bar for celebrity wrestling has been raised so incredibly high that if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to do it pretty well. So, like, that's all fine. And look, the history of pro wrestling is full of celebrities wrestling. That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that. My only problem here is McIntyre and Orton in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know he's not around, but like this is classic Miz thing. Like put the Miz in it. Put have Carmelo Hayes and Miz break up, and then you pair the two of them or something. With those two, I like. That's my only issue is that like Drew McIntyre for a long he should be positioned higher. And frankly, this is more kind of bad timing. But if this hadn't been booked on Friday, then Seth gets hurt. I know they're not on the same show, but do you work something out where you basically put McIntyre into Seth's spot as
possibly
top heel on Raw? You know, like that would have been a perfect way to kind of like have him do something else and put him in that spot because he should be there. He's got the Punk, history and all that stuff.
He slayed the beast, and just like Rollins did, and Heyman, he feuded on the other side against Heyman just like Rollins did with Reigns back in the day.
Yeah, so like, and again, like this was booked before Seth got hurt, and so like I get it. But man, like McIntyre comes back after a little bit away and just gets RKO'd and looked like a dummy against Randy Orton. And then we go into a celebrity feud, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just worried about wasting Drew McIntyre so much.
It's legit.
Like maybe they probably get the win out of this, or I guess I don't know, but he should get the win out of this at SummerSlam.
He should get the win. Yeah.
And then maybe you use that to springboard McIntyre into something bigger. I hope. I just like on a 2-night SummerSlam, do you need these two guys here? Like do McIntyre LA Knight, like.
Well, they didn't know Knight was going to be available. Same deal. Like,
yeah, I know, like same deal and all that, but it's like, I don't know. It feels like a risk.
So Jay Mace Sr. at J_Mace, he said, not sure what Vintage's take is going to be on why he hates this, whatever. He said, I hope it's not that he feels for those wrestlers. I always think of what Chris Jericho said. If he's not in the main event, he wants to be in the celebrity match. It gets a ton of eyes, and in today's climate, going viral is currency. I'm hoping we hear some gold from these guys doing any press ahead of it, especially for McIntyre. There's a fair point there that Drew,
yes,
he's great at selling matches. This is going to get him, and I kind of said this a second ago, it theoretically should get him more prominence in the eyes of like the national conversation, which doesn't really know Drew McIntyre. Even now in 2025, they know Roman Reigns. They probably know Randy Orton a little bit. They certainly know Logan Paul and Jelly Roll. They don't really know McIntyre. And, we thought that was going to happen with Damian Priest, teaming up with Bad Bunny and then going against Bad Bunny, or whichever order that transpired in. That one, the teaming up and then going against. It didn't. Like, Damian Priest didn't become a star because of that. But guess what happened? He became World Heavyweight Champion. And perhaps that's the same trajectory that they're going to be doing now with McIntyre. Not that McIntyre needs Jelly Roll and Logan Paul to be champion, because he already was and did a great job. But maybe this is part of that springboard into, if Cody wins the championship, McIntyre becomes that big time challenger for him. And we've long suspected that. McIntyre's been dancing around that. Like, hey, Cody, if you win that title back, I'm coming after you because I didn't get my lick the first time around. So perhaps that's a trajectory. And Chris, if that's the case, doesn't mean I have to like it for SummerSlam, but longer term, I probably will like it.
It's a fair point. And McIntyre is like the face of this new Project Rock Under Armour thing going on. Like the Rock's posting on Instagram about all the time, McIntyre telling the story. So like he is doing these things to get himself in front of a new audience. So I think that is a fair way to look at it. But I don't like it for SummerSlam specifically, but if you want to tell me long term this will help Drew, I can buy that.
Right. And look, here's the truth. As long as the booking is Logan or Jelly being the one who takes the fall, this should be okay. But if Jelly pins McIntyre, I will straight up lose my effing mind.
Yes.
That's really the only result that even I don't want Randy Orton to be pinned by Logan Paul. Trust me. But I could accept that. I could not accept Jelly Roll pinning McIntyre.
Agree.
All right, Chris, I believe you have a flight to catch. Appreciate you jumping on as long as you possibly could. And just to set everyone at ease, you will be back next Tuesday for the WWE episode, correct?
Yes, I will. No more travel for a little bit. I'll be back home, back in the normal routine.
All right. Still gave us an hour of your time. Greatly appreciated. Have a safe flight and enjoy Mountain West Media Day. Continuing on here with the good, the bad, and the ugly on Raw. It was ladies' night. And oh, what a night. Naomi appropriately opened the show looking like $1 million, not wanting to hear You deserve it chance. She said she played everyone thinking she'd cash in on Tiffany Stratton. No one knows her next move. Naomi told Bianca Belair she didn't betray her, she outgrew her, and she was done being the big three lackey. The crowd was hot for her, even said proceed with caution along with her. Rhea Ripley interrupted, saying she's not cautious, she's reckless and pissed. After Evolution, Io Sky was next, getting deserved loud chants. Io respectfully told Rhea to get in line because she was the champion, and of course she lost the title. Naomi called them entitled, and they were supposed to argue, but they kind of forgot to do that. Adam Pearce came out saying the Evolution match was magic, and he wants more magic at the first ever 2-night SummerSlam. Naomi was great here, commanded the ring, played up her character, flexed as the big bad that the Raw Women's Division sorely needed, calling the crowd bitches and the women heifers. I thought that was straight up hysterical. Saying she couldn't understand Io when the girl spoke perfect English was really dumb. It's such an old, tired trope. I heard people say, this is racism. No, it's not racism. It's just stupid. It's a stupid, dumb comment to make in that moment. And it's unfortunate that it kind of overshadowed some of what Naomi did throughout the rest of the segment, which was otherwise perfect. Ripley was better than usual on the mic, didn't drop a single catchphrase. Thank you for that. This time, her demand for a title opportunity was actually legitimate, not just Mommy in the Bank. The end of their promos, they kind of fell apart as I described. The match booking for a triple threat, I think I forgot to mention, the solution from, Adam Pearce was a triple threat for the title at SummerSlam. That match booking is a no-brainer. So let me be clear when I say I have zero issue with it logically. However, this is the second triple threat for Io and Rhea in less than 5 months, and it's going to be the 5th time that Io and Rhea fight in 6 months. It also means that Sky is most likely going to get pinned again by Naomi. So again, completely logical, no issues on that end, just a bit repetitive, and if I had it my way, Ripley would be the one taking the fall in this match. It shouldn't be Io 2 times in a row, but this segment to open Raw was good. What I wondered coming out of it was whether the women would get the night 1 main event of SummerSlam, given their incredible work at Evolution. My assumption went as follows. If CM Punk wins the number 1 contendership gauntlet, no. If he loses, yes, the women will main event. Of course, CM Punk won the gauntlet. So as I sit here, I don't think they're going to be main eventing night 1, even though, once again, they have a great case to do so. We had Bayley and Lyra Valkyria in a 2 out of 3 falls match, number 1 contendership for the Intercontinental Championship. Lyra backstage said her focus is purely on going after Becky Lynch and the title, not any issues she might have with Bayley. Bayley came in saying the loser goes to the back of the line and to stay out of her way. Dual chants at the bell. Bayley smacked Lyra, rolled her up for the first fall in 90 seconds, which was cheap as shit. Valkyria ate a backdrop on the ring apron with Bayley hitting her unnamed swinging fireman's carry slam. Bayley tried to capitalize with La Magistral, but Lyra stopped her cold for a counter pinfall to even it 1-1. Much better fall. Valkyria blocked Bayley to belly, only to get caught flying for the same move, rocking false finish there. Lyra pulled Bayley off the ropes for a ridiculous Falcon Arrow in a singular motion, immediately adding a gut-wrench sit-down powerbomb for a 2.9 false finish. Valkyria went after Bayley's knee, adding a fisherman suplex on the apron. Bayley murked Lyra with a sunset flip powerbomb into the damn steel steps, hitting an elbow drop to her injured back for another false finish. I thought the match was over right there. She immediately moved into a crossface with Lyra screaming. I again thought, okay, well, she's selling the injured back. Maybe she's going to tap out and we'll actually get a real submission in WWE. Of course, no, that would not happen. When Bayley pushed off the ropes to continue the submission, Lyra rotated her onto her shoulders and then hit Nightwing to advance to SummerSlam. Becky came out wearing Hulkamania colors on purpose, Becky Hogan, and they did a screaming face-off to end this segment. This match was incredible. Straight up. It was like the first, 45 minutes of Raw were just a continuation of Evolution. I loved that.
Ah! Yes! I love that!
I'm glad that this sound drop is back. And I know we're using it a little bit much, but it's one of my favorites that we put on the board recently here on the show. Like I said, this match was incredible, but I'm not sure the right woman won. I'll circle back to that. The wrestling was top tier. The first fall, ridiculously cheap. I hate when 3 falls matches get the first one out of the way like that. Compounding the issue is that it was the only one Bayley got. So despite the 50-50 wrestling during the match, she kind of got beat 2-0 when it came to legitimate falls. Really frustrating. If anything, it's Lyra who should have gotten the cheap fall, Bayley getting a real one, and then Lyra getting a real one to end it. Bayley worked more of the heel side here, and she got immense cheers despite that. That was great for her. Some of the sequences at the end were legitimately surprising false finishes, and this thing built to a total crescendo, which is exactly what you want when you're giving a match time. This was an A match, no doubt. I'm going 4.25 stars, but really it's borderline higher. One of the best TV matches of the entire year, and that's with the terrible first fall that bothered me. As to why I believe the wrong woman won. This seems to me to indicate that Bayley's going to miss SummerSlam after already missing WrestleMania this year. That's hugely problematic. Furthermore, Valkyria really hasn't faced any adversity. Would it not have been better to have Bayley win here, lose at SummerSlam, and then use that extra month to build Lyra back into the number one contender so she and Becky could fight in Europe? I know there's 2 bodies of water between Ireland and France, but I just feel like that match in Europe would have been huge, and it would ensure Bayley is on SummerSlam. On top of that, Becky and Bayley have still never had a singles match on a PLE, so that could have added to the SummerSlam story. That's why I'm so confused about the booking here. This was a no-doubter good, and hell, maybe Bayley finds her way on the card, and I can shut my mouth. I'm just not sure this was the right decision. Beyond that, I don't believe we should just have Becky and Lyra at SummerSlam. I don't think you can just have them fight a regular singles match given the entirety of this feud. There's 2 more Raws until SummerSlam, so plenty of time to put something together. My move, if I had the pencil, would be to make this an Iron Woman match. 30-minute match. You have 2 entire nights of SummerSlam. You can give them that time. If you don't want to go Iron Woman, Falls Count Anywhere, I Quit, something like that. Not something that's weapons heavy, but something that shows like these 2 are going to go to war and let the best woman win. So we'll see if a stipulation gets added. Just telling you what Silver King would do at this juncture. Brett Charles Malam at Brett_Malam wrote in. He said, a little more than halfway through the year, is it crazy to say the 2 best stories, no need to qualify it as women's stories, in WWE have been Bianca, Jade, Naomi, and this Intercontinental title feud involving Lyra, Becky, and Bayley. Not a strong year for the men, but I've really enjoyed those 2 stories. I don't think it's crazy to say that at all. And I'm actually somewhat surprised I haven't thought about that. It also speaks to the criticism of WWE's booking of the women. When you look at both of those stories and you say, okay, yeah, they don't involve the WWE Women's Championship and the Women's World Championship, which have been booked extremely poorly for the WWE Championship going into and coming out of WrestleMania, for the Women's World Championship just coming out of WrestleMania. But these 2, let's call them upper mid-card women's storylines, yeah, they're probably the best thing going for WWE right now. It certainly is not the John Cena stuff. I mean, it's great that he turned heel and that individually was exciting, but the booking of it hasn't been that incredible. The stuff with Jay and Gunther, it's been fine. Neither of the men's titles has been that notable. The CM Punk stuff and Roman Reigns and, Drew McIntyre and all those guys, none of that's immensely notable right now. So I think you are spot on, Brett. Lyra, Becky, Bayley, and Bianca, Jade, Naomi, as of right now, are the 2 best storylines in WWE this year. And I don't think that's a negative at all. I think that's actually fantastic that we can say that. And perhaps it's even kind of a refreshing wake-up call to people who are out there suggesting WWE still does not book the women well, because that is true somewhat when it comes to the titles. But these 2 stories have both been booked extremely well. Let's move to the WWE Tag Team Championship match. Street Profits defending against the Wyatt Six on SmackDown. There was a QR code at the start of the show that had Bo Dallas cutting a 2-minute promo saying gold was the only thing holding the Profits together, and they were the axe that would break them apart. It absolutely should have been cut down to 45 seconds and aired on television, specifically because it was a heel promo, and the Six to this point have been projected as the babyface side of tweeners given their entire backstory. The Six got their full entrance through the end of the chorus for the first time since they returned, So someone out there was listening.
Thank you.
They still didn't do it in the ring with Uncle Howdy and the lantern getting blown out on the beat, but it was much, much better. The Profits had Shawn Michaels-inspired zebra print gear, Montez Ford especially. He hit a sunset flip powerbomb on Dexter Lumis. Angelo Dawkins appeared to eject himself from a cover because Lumis did not break it up on time. I might be wrong about that. It's what I saw. He had a swanton bomb, which was pretty sick. Joe Gacy did his handspring lariat before combining for an elevated neck breaker. The Profits later hit the Doomsday Blockbuster for a false finish, with production missing the entire count. Ford landed his frog splash, but was not immediately able to cover, so Eric Rowan pulled him out of the ring, only to get pounced over the timekeeper's area by Dawkins. Ford missed a subsequent frog splash, with the sixth landing a flip-over tandem neckbreaker powerbomb to win the tag team titles. This was a great match. Let's not get that twisted. Action was awesome. The sixth finisher was decisive enough to result in a championship win, even though I'm angry the Profits lost to the Six, just given they've been a pox on the SmackDown tag team division since they returned. In the moment, the Six acquitted themselves nicely. They came across like a legitimate team. It was easily their best match as a group since they debuted, thanks largely to the Profits. I was at 3.75 stars B+ on the match, and good overall for the segment. But it does feel like a knife through the heart of the division, just given the way it had been rolling, because now the Six are the fulcrum of all of these teams. And WWE not taking the time to actually air a heel promo before a team wrestled heel and cheated to win the titles is a total unforced error. You cannot be hiding content that advances a storyline like that. That's a huge change in direction for this faction, and it should have been firmly established for the audience given they won as heels. I wish I could have been entirely positive about this, but it was frustrating in that way. Now, it's going to be interesting to see whether this is the catalyst for the Profits to finally go singles. The title run was 4 months, which sounds short, but it was actually somewhat substantial given the depth of the division. If there was ever a time to let them work in the mid-card and see what they can do on their own, it is now. I'm not saying you need to split them up, by the way, but Montez should absolutely be a player for the United States Championship starting immediately. The other SmackDown tag teams were angry at the Six succeeding. DIY came in suggesting they all come together given this is the worst case scenario. That led to all of them arguing. Fraxium decided they deserve the first opportunity because the Six cost them their title match. Rey Fenix and Andrade heard the word opportunity. They slid in, saying they were officially part of the tag team division. That sent DIY into a tailspin. And you know what? That was a great point by Fraxium. Why did the Six get a rematch for interference when Fraxium did not, and it was the Six interfering? What the hell is Nick Aldis doing over there?
Come on, Oos. It's a joke, right? It's a joke, Oos. You ribbing me?
The move for Phoenix and Andrade that was clearly necessary given their two incredible matches in as many weeks, and Penta, of course, is thriving as a single star right now. But as we said last week, the tag divisions now are ridiculously uneven, and WWE, they need to figure out a way to shift some of these dudes over to Raw. I have no idea what is happening. Why are there 9 tag teams in contention on SmackDown and like 3 on Raw who are almost all less interesting than every other team on SmackDown? This was a good backstage segment despite, those questions and criticisms, but look, we'll see what happens and how this works out over the ensuing weeks. Stephanie Vaquer backstage said she came to WWE to be a champion and she'll achieve that goal in Paris. Chelsea Green and Secret Hervis, who are not on Raw, interrupted, mistaking Vaquer's name as La Primavera, I presume on purpose because that means spring in Italian, basically saying she was a better choice to be representing in Paris than Stephanie. This preceded a match that was built during the Battle Royal on Sunday at Evolution. Nikki Bella against Chelsea. Green got caught with a great backstabber out of the corner. There were dual chants, the men for Chelsea, the women for Nikki. I can't remember hearing chants like that before. Green actually dominated the match offensively, but Bella countered Unpretty Her into an X Factor. Hervis tried to distract. Nikki knocked them to the floor. Then it seemed like they completely botched the finish in every way imaginable. It looked like Nikki was going for a rack attack, but then she stopped in the middle of doing it, and Chelsea just kind of stood there. So Nikki picked her up at Rack Attack 2.0 and got the win. Now, it was a necessary switch in the moment. It looked to me live like Nikki hadn't lifted a weight in years and was unable to get Chelsea up. Turns out, Nikki spoke about this after Raw, and as was commonly known, she had to retire Rack Attack as her finisher because it was said that it either resulted in or contributed to her serious neck injury that almost led to her retirement. So the last time she came back and wrestled in WWE, she debuted Rack Attack 2.0, which is not as strenuous on the neck, and it's a move she can actually do. And what she basically said Monday night is it was muscle memory. She picked her up to do her finisher, remembered in the middle of doing it, she can't do that move, put her down, transitioned, did the other move. Now, that doesn't atone for what happened in the ring. It still looked like absolute shit, but it's completely understandable. And it's better to know that it was her protecting herself than an actual botch, which it was not. It was just muscle memory and her forgetting. Hervis murked Nikki after the bell. Piper hit Boss Man Slam. Vaquer saved, cleaned house, and she lifted Nikki for a hug to end it. Vaquer did when she came in. I love the idea of Vaquer and Bella kind of getting rub off one another. Nikki off of Stephanie's like modern popularity. Stephanie off of Nikki's appeal outside WWE. But Chelsea being on Raw without explanation, the match being quite plodding, and the finish the way it was, I'm going with a light bad on this one, but it's so light. It's like 51%. Right on the border there. WWE, they went from explaining every single time someone from the other brand was on a different show to not bothering to do it at all. I know it's SummerSlam season. It seems like we're primed for Vaquer and the Bella Twins against Green Regime. But all you need to do creatively is say that Chelsea had a meeting scheduled with Adam Pearce about Nikki because of the Battle Royal. He punished her by making the match. It's really lazy not to just go and take that one additional step, which WWE was doing as recently as a year ago. They've just recently stopped, and it bothers me. Karrion Kross got a full promo package calling Sami Zayn a liar, suggesting he's not really hurt. He told Zayn not to come back to work until he was ready to say the words Kross told the truth. Good, because it's the most that Kross has gotten on Raw in who knows how long. I'd have liked some more substance, building something in the immediate future with Sami selling an injury. There's only 18 days until SummerSlam. That would be a pretty short time to suddenly come back and want to fight a match. Could they go Kross and Zayn at SummerSlam? They could. And you know what? I kind of feel like they will. But at the same time, why not have Kross wrestle some other people in the interim on TV, even if it squashes, just to get some reps, get some TV time. And I'll let him cut that promo in the ring after squashing a dude, as opposed to just doing it backstage. Finn Balor was holding 4 of the 5 Judgment Day titles, calming Dominic Mysterio down from being worried about AJ Styles, saying, hey, you got a doctor's note, you're not going to get attacked. Balor praised the women as stealing the weekend, and after they put over each other, Balor wanted to ensure they had protection in their match and told Dom to go with them to the ring. Balor also used Liv Morgan as like his reasoning, but it's his clear goal to bring Dom and Roxanne Perez together and then drive that wedge between Dom and Liv. So we had Judgment Day against the Kabuki Warriors. This was a non-title match with the heels immediately getting locked in stereo submissions. Raquel broke one by single arm powerbombing Kairi Sane into Asuka, then hanging her on the top rope. Kairi hit an assisted phenomenal forearm on Roxy for a broken fall. Then the Warriors combined for an elevated insane elbow, with Dom distracting long enough for a broken fall. Raquel got run into the post by Asuka, who then backfisted Dom to hell. Roxy caught her for a roll-up, and Raquel barely added a foot on the end for leverage to get the win. Rodriguez has been great the last 2 weeks, but she was late in a couple key spots during this match. Regardless, they needed to win as champions. I like this booking happening right away on Raw because it should result in the Warriors going back to singles as they were before. There wasn't really a necessity for them to still be a tag team other than at Evolution due to booking plans changing. Both of them were doing extremely well on their own, and while it's nice that they're still friends and they can team when the opportunity calls or when the division needs a team to go after the champions or win the titles, losing to the champs here, it should be enough to end that for now. The crowd was crazy hot for Asuka throughout this match. Nothing else too notable, but combined with the clubhouse segment and the way Balor is playing everyone like a fiddle, it's an easy good. This was also part of that all-women start to Raw. You had this segment with Naomi, then you had this match, and then you had the Bayley and Lyra Valkyria 2 out of 3 falls match. So it was really cool to kind of see Evolution extend into Monday night. New Day with Grayson Waller were still mourning the death of the Raw tag team division. Waller unveiled a bribe to Pierce, 2 real hair wigs for his bald head. Pierce refused to give them a title match and said they could just compete for a number one contendership next week. Then he confronted Mysterio, who he said looked healthy, interfering in that tag team match. Dom said it was the adrenaline in his soul, which was really great, dry humor. Pierce said he'd get reevaluated next week, and when he gets cleared, which he knows he will, he'll get put into a title match with AJ Styles. Styles was then shown praying to God that he gets cleared in another comedy bit. The stuff with Dom was great. I'm glad New Day are getting regular TV time again, but the stuff with Waller is weird. Yes, we've seen them speaking backstage multiple times, but we have zero insight about it. No segments where we actually hear what they're saying. Austin Theory has just completely disappeared, despite still working dark matches and getting cheered when he does. Did they build a Waller Theory split for an entire year and then do it off screen? Like, what exactly is happening here? I'm going to say light good because of the Dom AJ part, but I'm real confused about all of this when it comes to Waller and New Day. Maybe Theory comes out next week and it comes full circle, but at this point, I have no idea. I did want to take a moment, and I kind of previewed this on the Saturday night's main event instant analysis. I wanted to take a moment and discuss Solo Sikoa's faction, which is being called MFT. And MFT was originally the nickname of Tama Tonga, which made us think it was Mother Effin' Tongan, but they never said what it stood for. Then they stopped calling him that. Now, MFT is the name of this group, and a shirt was released by WWE that says MFT stands for My Family Tree. My first question, why is the faction name a possessive? It would then only make sense for Solo to say it. We are MFT, My Family Tree. That makes sense. Every other usage of this name does not. Now, look, this is not the Submission Sorority or the Core with 2 R's. This is an all-time bad faction name. It's as mid-card as they come, and it's Sikoa, a mid-carder, leading a bunch of other mid-wrestlers. So the shirt, first of all, doesn't even feature Tama Tonga. So it's going to be outdated if he returns and joins them. That's weird. But then, think about the usage of it, right? Sikoa on screen at one point said, like, these are my MFTs. So what he's saying there, it's just like ATM machine, okay? He's saying these are my family trees. What is that? It doesn't make grammatical sense. It doesn't make logical sense. What's happening here?
What is going on?
How do these losers have a name? A terrible name. And yet Rollins' crew, which debuted on the Raw after WrestleMania 3 months ago, still does not. How do you have Bliss and Flair coming in with a shirt that seems to call them Allies of Convenience, another terrible name, and these are the two that you've made, whereas Rollins' group is just sitting there, thumbs up their asses, waiting for something, a logo, a name, an entrance theme, anything? Like, these are two terrible names. I don't know if Allies of Convenience is official. I hope it's just something that's on a shirt, because there's not a logo for it. It just has the Charlotte logo and the Alexa logo. But MFT, it would be okay if it didn't stand for My Family Tree, and they cannot use it the way Solo did on Friday. My MFTs, my family trees. It's terrible. Maybe it doesn't drive you guys crazy like it does me, but look, I had to rant about it here. Why?
This is my show. My show.
Rusev backstage said the world now knows that he's better, tougher, and superior to Sheamus, who was right behind him, of course, the entire time. Sheamus said he wasn't there for an ambush, but Pierce saw that Rusev cheated to win, so he got a rematch made. Sheamus was ready for them to go
Banger.
after. But Rusev was angry because he wanted to dominate gold, not gingers. Kind of funny, but he said it under his breath, so it didn't really make an impact. Rusev needs to be told that you have to speak loudly when you're on television. Extremely light good. Back in the day, WWE would just run this match again with no explanation, so it was an improvement that they did a backstage segment. But I would like a bit more meat, no pun intended, on the bone with these two. I'm starting to wonder, like, are they going to do a Bar 2.0 tag team type of deal like we got with, Sheamus and Cesaro back in the day? Like, what is the end goal of them running this? That I'm going to be curious to find out. We had R-Truth against Aleister Black. Truth dominated early before grabbing a steel chair for no reason whatsoever. Black went to use it, allowing Truth to catch him in an O'Connor roll for the win. Damian Priest then stopped Black from chasing him down backstage. They shook hands, only for Priest to get lured into a pump knee, a toss into a road case, and Black mass. Black said now he can't let it go. Didn't mind using this finish, given the disparity in talent between the two competitors, but doing it after 60 seconds, especially when combined with the entrances, a complete and total waste of time that could have been far better used, such as for the 6 promo or the Sol Ruca vignette that we didn't get on SmackDown. The backstage bit with Priest and Black, it saved this from an ugly grade. That was actually done really well. And Priest feuding with a former world champion in the last year, that is huge. But you know what? No. Even with that in consideration, this was still ugly. It was way too goofy and stupid for Truth. A guy who's supposed to be serious. He's supposed to be driving right now. And this is what you're having him do?
0.0.
0.0, Mr. Blutarski.
That is one big pile of shit.
Now, I did have a thought coming out of this, and this is how we can kind of wrap up the segment. Look, I don't know about Travis Scott's availability. I don't know what's going to happen necessarily at SummerSlam. But Truth has not resolved his situation with Cena. And we're getting a Cena and Cody Rhodes rematch on this show, like we expected. And I just had a thought coming out of this segment, because Truth, he's now removed from Aleister Black, and he doesn't need to get Damian Priest back, all that type of stuff. What if the finish for night 2 of SummerSlam, stay with me here, it is Cena and Cody, they're wrestling, hopefully, fingers crossed, a better match than they had at WrestleMania. And we come across a similar situation at the end of the match where Cody has an opportunity to do something that is perhaps not within his character. The referee's knocked down, whatever the case. He needs to take the shot. He's hesitating on whether to do it because he doesn't want to be perceived as anything other than, of course, a pure white meat babyface. And then all of a sudden, Fiend starts playing. And Travis Scott walks down. And everyone groans because you say to yourself, oh my God, they're just repeating the WrestleMania 41 finish. Except when Travis Scott gets to the ring, R-Truth comes out, beats the shit out of Travis Scott. Cody takes the opportunity with the referee knockdown to do what he needs to do, pins John Cena, wins back the WWE Championship. I don't know. Is that terrible? Is that genius? You guys can tell us. At Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky, Getting Over Pod at gmail.com. But I was thinking about that immediately after this segment. And I thought, you know what? If they did that, it would kind of almost retcon the terribleness of using Scott initially, because you were able to get that moment with Cody and Truth. They could celebrate together. And it would be a pretty hot way, I think, to end SummerSlam. It would also be a nice swerve. People would be depressed that Scott comes out and then really excited that Truth is there. Plus, talk about like paying off Truth, for releasing him or not renewing his contract. You end up putting him in the main event of SummerSlam one way or another. Just a thought I had in my head as we wrap up this show. I did want to quickly mention the WWE SummerSlam 2-night card with 18 days left, because we came out of Raw on Monday night, and because of, the number one contenderships that were won through King and Queen of the Ring and matches that were made on that show, out of nowhere, even with 3 weeks left, this card is almost completely developed. Here's where SummerSlam stands. WWE Championship, John Cena against Cody Rhodes. World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther against CM Punk. Women's World Championship, Naomi against Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. WWE Women's Championship, Tiffany Stratton against Jade Cargill. Intercontinental Championships, Becky Lynch against Lyra Valkyria. Dominic Mysterio against AJ Styles. Randy Orton and Jelly Roll against Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. And these next 3 matches are not official, but clearly expected. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. United States Championship, Solo Sikoa against Jacob Fatu. And then something like Stephanie Vaquer, Nikki Bella, maybe Brie Bella, maybe another woman against the Green Regime. And then you want to fill out this card, right? I see Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez against Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair for the women's tag team titles. Probably something involving the SmackDown tag team titles, given the reaction to them being left off WrestleMania. That would be 12 matches. They're probably only going to do 14 overall. So that's 2 more. And you still have LA Knight and Sami Zayn and a lot of other people to consider. So SummerSlam, despite a 3-week build and despite all the frustrations that we've expressed on the show about WWE doing way too much in too short of a window, it's actually card-wise been built pretty well and pretty strong. So we will see what happens over the ensuing 2.5 weeks. And of course, we'll be covering it right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. A reminder as we get out of here, there are instant analysis shows in the feed for you to listen to. AEW All In, Saturday night's main event, and Great American Bash together, and then Evolution as well. 3 different episodes all from this weekend. In terms of the remainder of this week, the plan right now is to do a bonus show for you on Wednesday, a birthday show for the Silver King with a special guest. If that does happen, then we'll be with you in 24 hours. If not, we'll be back on Thursday talking NXT and AEW. And then guess what? We actually get a weekend off, and I get to focus fully on the Open Championship at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland. Fingers crossed, Rory McIlroy can get it done. Let me also remind you on the way out of the show that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
It's all about the fight.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast. You get full-length audio episodes, full-length video interviews, all of it on YouTube at Getting Overcast. And please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, that is buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. All right, that wraps up today's show. We got more performance-enhancing audio coming into your ear holes this week. At this point, it is time for the Silver King to sign off and leave you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.